years in fucking misery and not knowing how the hell he ended up there. Can you imagine if he had to fucking spend the rest of his time there? And future generations, we're not going to have any more. We're in the middle of World War III right now, and we're about to go hot soon. So we're out of time. They're pulling the plug, and I told you they would. Hey, remember this one back in 1998? Remember I was talking about dirty bombs? This is for your mother. I'm talking to your mother right now. I was talking to you about dirty bombs, okay? That they were going to sneak some dirty bombs into D.C. and you know, it was going to be like in a backpack, and it was going to pop off and everything else like that and everything. Well, you remember the other day on the election, they had this thing, right? And they had an election. And, you know, the interesting thing about it is, like, you know, that election was called, you know, and went the other way because someone got into the safe, because they recovered all those dirty bombs that I was telling you back 20 years ago, 1998, or 22 years ago, back in 98. They were Israeli Mossad bags, but they found them, they got them, they were in a fucking safe vault, you know what I mean? But during that whole election thing, we were all held as hostage, all the American citizens, especially the ones that were in D.C., that they were going to set one off. One showed up missing out of its containment center. One of the dirty bombs was gone. So essentially you've got a nuclear warhead with a high yield, enough to take out Washington, D.C., vaporize, okay? Like one of the old types, a dirty bomb. Not like the new bombs. New bombs today, they don't do like the whole Nagasaki, Hiroshima with the mushroom clouds and shit like that. These ones, done. It's over. You know, it swallows itself, basically. You know. Or rods from God. There are rods from God. That's another one we got to deal with. And so we got a couple different things, like you saw out in Tennessee, Tallahassee, I think it was, or Tallahassee, Tennessee, or some shit like that. There was a AT&T building, got the shit blown out of it, okay, in the middle of the street, and there was a little minivan that went through, okay. Those are the good guys, and they were saying, you know, cleared everybody out here. But that AT&T building, that was a CIA data collection center. That's, you know, all the whole facade of that thing, it was, you know, oh, there's windows and stuff. No, it's a big bomb shelter building. It's, you know, 10, 13 stories tall or whatever, but it's meant to take nuclear end of the world level 5 shit, you know, stuff, let me say it like that. And so, you know, I told you 22 years ago, or 1998, you know, you listened to Capos instead and sided with him. Yet you shared my bed and bore my child. That makes no sense to me. Your allegiance towards him at that point was you wanted a drug that I would not allow, and he had it and was willing to provide it. And in my absence was always sitting in my seat. Now, at what point are you ever going to be honest with our son and ever tell him the truth? You know, I've told you for almost 25 years, you can't lie to me. You can't lie to me. You can try, you can do it. I think. I compute. I use logic as my algorithm. You can't lie to me. A computer has no brain. A computer cannot think. A computer can only compute. You see the difference here? That's why I'm better at defeating computers. I don't lose to computers. You know? And so it's just one of those things where, like, it's called infidelity or being unfaithful. Okay? That's why I always had an issue with you bringing around your ex-boyfriends and guys that had sexual interest in you. Oh, they're just my friends. They're just my friends. You're lying directly to me. You're doing it directly to me. You know, and I said even then, you know, when Raggedy Ann, Raggedy Andy, you know, this, it's not fair to anybody when you do that. There's now 4 of us sitting in a room, and we're all sitting there trying to have a smoke because you guys want all to have a smoke. But now 2 of us in the room are, sitting there on our ex-lovers and are sitting there just kicking it, and we're all kicking it together because he's hooking up the sack. He's finding you called it weed. Okay, I say it's cannabis, but you call it weed, and so I'm trying to stay consistent with that. But like, again, finishing this conversation, but like this whole thing about like being so passé, that like you're gonna sit in my seat and lay in my bed in my house, and then in my absence while I'm off at work have 5 other men in my living room doing drugs with my woman in my house with my child sitting in his bassinet. Oh, we go outside when we smoke. Do you think I give 2 bits of fuck? Not in the slightest. I don't want anyone in my house when I'm gone. Okay? Sister, okay, if she wants to come by, I'd really prefer not that. She's an antagonist. Okay, she's a poisoner. She's your sister is like, not the oldest, okay, but like, you're next up. Okay, she is not, a nice person. She is a very hot-headed person. I think a lot of like the hostility that your family has, an instant flash rage, like your half brother, okay, is the fact that you guys do methamphetamine. That's really the problem, and that's why I had a problem with you having other people in my house with my son there in my absence. That's the issue, okay? You can't be trusted, and that's what cost me my job at NASA. Okay, is because they were running my, I'm trying to stay out of it, okay? I'm trying to work my career and make sure that my son has a future. But I was going through an SSBI. The house was surveilled by satellite. I told you, don't associate with them anymore. But you did it when I was gone. Okay? You cost me my job. Because all of them were surveilled as well. That's how it works. Okay? Like, Capos. Again, that fat Jabba the Hutt slug that you wanted to sleep with you and you just didn't. You just were grifting him for free weed and free rides and stuff like that. Like, he got in trouble, right? He got arrested. And then you had him come over to me while I was working at my little coffee shop after you destroyed my career, okay? And you got me tossed from NASA. Okay, well, all right. Dr. X found out that I was working at the coffee shop. He says, really? He says, where have you been? I said, what happened to you? Oh, here's what happened to you. Oh, he says, Professor Y still wants you to come around. You've become quite a conversational piece lately amongst the gentlemen. I said, oh, I'm so grateful. I gotta tell you, man, I want to spend the rest of my life there and not leave. I want to move in. We'll call it Melrose Place. I want to move into Melrose Place. I got to be careful how I say shit here. I have to say things in a way that convey it to you without saying it. Okay, do you understand? I'm bound by it. But the problem is everything I did once I went through and I got my CTS my CTS clearance, I got scrubbed. Okay, you know how you scrubbed my son's name off the internet and your name off the internet? That's how I know it wasn't just some county thing going in the middle of it. Someone else had to be involved on a personal level. Someone had to pay somebody because your name was scrubbed as well. The NASA Stardust. Okay, well, the same thing happens when you deal with the big boy, the National Reconnaissance Office, the NRO, and shit like that. You're dealing with big entities that don't exist. So it's really kind of it's frustrating, when you're living in a world where you know what's going on, and you're surrounded by people who think that the fucking sun rises and sets, and will scream at you if you don't admit it and secede to it as well. The sun does not rise and set. The stars do not come out at night. The planet spins. Why is that important? Because when you deal with things like orbital physics, perihelion, for example, there's no such thing as daylight, or not daylight, sunrise and sunset. How do you equate how can you perform any sort of measurement? Okay? There's a huge layer of sodium in the upper mesosphere. Okay? It's a huge cloud. Like I said, it's like digging and looking into the ocean. All right? Well, when we stayed at Jason's house, those are the guys that figured that shit out. I mean, the real smart kids. Except they needed a computer guy. They were all physicists and mathematicians. They needed a nerd. And there was an audition. And I was pretty much in a group of one of three. One guy had his official credentials. Another guy got almost all the way there, legitimately, enrolled and everything. And then didn't make it to the end, kind of went off and started doing his own kind of site projects and shit like that. I mean, these are the things that I hear. Okay, again, it's the SCI. It's sensitive, compartmentalized information. Okay, and so many things move at once, but not everything is aware of each other. And so that's how things work. And again, I told you there are things that I'm not going to be able to tell you, but you're going to have to trust me and follow my lead. Okay? When I say jump, just say how high. Boom. Instant. Do it. I'm not going to tell you go doing this and go, you clean the dishes. No. You be you. Okay? But if I say this has to happen now, we need to go do this now, it means we have to do it now. If we had to evacuate, just say for some second that we had to go into some, I don't know, kind of deep underground military type of bunker, because say the fit was hitting the shan and it was time to go and we had to get out of here. Okay? We need to go now. We need to go now. No. Do what I say. Now, jump. Fred in the face! You cost me that. You think that your little sticky tape 3M guy makes money? Do you realize what it means to be a Nobel laureate? You stole that from me. Okay? And so, like I said, I'm a Viking. I don't surrender. I don't submit. I will be shrieking like a fucking Valkyrie in the fucking pits of fucking hell, dude. Sitting in Valhalla, again, with a fucking rack of mutton and a fucking chalice of fucking mead. Spitting in the fucking Satan's face. Spitting in the devil's face. No, fuck that. You gonna cut me out of class? I'm going to class. I'll steal my fucking education. Okay? I'll do what Einstein did. Okay? And just go get the fucking knowledge. Okay, well, you're gonna sit there, you're gonna cost my fucking career? You're gonna get me tossed out of fucking NASA? Okay, I can't stop you. Do what you gotta do. I mean, what you did is really you're really not a nice person. I mean, you're wonderful to be with, but you're really a wretched person. I love you. I mean, I'm not in love with you. I love you for bearing me my son. Okay? But, when you're nice, you're wonderful. But there's always something underneath that niceness. You want something underneath that niceness. You'll be really, really super protective of those that are in your group. Well, you're a Scorpio. That's how you do it. Okay? But you want what you want when you want. If all hell's in the way if you don't want it. I've said it before, probably at least a couple of fucking thousand times. Okay? So what happened? Professor Y tells Dr. X, he says, I still want him. There's a lot of interest in right now, see how I'm rambling about a bunch of different things? I can do that for 10, 11, 12 hours. That's why I went to Jason's house. Do you get it? Do you understand? Like I said, I was a bit of a weekend warrior, what do they call me? They used to call me a cameo. A cameo. Fucking Cameo. Cameo for me was a fucking music band back in the 80s. But okay. They used to call me a weekend warrior or a cameo and shit like that. It's, it's kind of like hazing somebody, giving them a hard time. You're just kind of teasing them a little bit. Yeah, he's a new guy. You're just hanging out. So, You see anything neat you like? You see anything interesting? That kind of thing. Smart ass shit conversations, but conversations that lead to very interesting places that can be completely theoretical. That's why